Hello, my name is Rob, and today I will talk about what I saw in the news today, focused on the environment. Let me see. Oh, just have to refresh the stream so I can see chat. So today I have a couple of interesting ones. What did I write in my notes? Um, an article about how Toronto needs to adopt to climate change. A decision by the federal government not to use the precautionary approach uh, with chemicals known as forever chemicals, um, PFAS chemicals. Those changes to seed law that are concerning, and I believe that's all the articles. There might be one or two others, so I will um, go to the first article, which is so the first article is after major flooding event in 11 years, experts say Toronto needs to do more to adapt to climate change. This is in CBC News by Nicole Mortallo. It's talking about how back in 2013 there was massive rainstorm. It's now 2024, and in 2013 there was talk about how Toronto need to better adapt as climate change was likely to make these heavy rain events more frequent and more severe. As I showed yesterday, all the photos, you can see how severe the weather was. This is a photo from 2013 of the GO train surrounded by water. 11 years later, the article is saying that it's unprepared for major rainfall. This is the case for a lot of cities. As the article goes into, a lot of cities have, including Toronto, they've paved over natural spaces. Here's a quote. The climate change isn't the only driver in the system. You've seen aging municipal infrastructure that was never incorporated adaptation. And there's been reports about this dating back decades, that there's a lack of money for municipalities to improve infrastructure. It says that there's concrete jungle effect. If you know anything about environmental studies, one of the main things that gets talked about is water infiltration. Um, if you have a lot of concrete, water can't go into the ground and infiltrate. But if you have like wetlands or grasses, then they can go through the ground. There's different calculations based on the soil type, land use, and all the water infiltration can be calculated. Um, so if you're interested in math, that might be interesting to you. And but basically, the more built up in it, the more concrete, less water flows, and there's more increased flooding. It's not as simple as that, but that's the simple explanation. Um, and then infrastructure we have is designed for really the historical conditions. And then this is significant. Like Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow said that climate change is real on a press scrum. We are expecting almost a doubling of the number of severe rainstorms in 15 years. So we have to redouble our efforts to have mitigating actions because we have to do more prevention work. And that hasn't always been the case that municipal leaders have been even acknowledging that climate change is real is a significant step. But saying that 15 years there's going to be more extreme weather. So there has been incentives to homeowners to prevent flooding in homes. And the city has freed up $2 billion after the province uploaded the cost of the DVP and the Golden Expressway, which is being put towards Toronto's aging transit systems and roads. So that's not like necessary climate adaptation. But you do have to expand some of the pipes. A lot of the pipes are undersized, and wetland infrastructure, natural infrastructure is of growing importance. And I hope to be able to make a video just on how wetlands play a role in reducing flooding. But those still 26 billion and more than 10 years behind in infrastructure work. So that's a huge amount. They're already 10 years behind and 26 billion. Yeah, and then conservation authorities were created as a result of a natural disaster, Hurricane Hazel. This isn't in the article, but that's some of the reasons why we have conservation authorities. We don't build housing right next to wetlands, or at least we're not supposed to, and it's frowned upon by a lot of the experts. So that's the first article talking about climate change and that Toronto needs to adapt. I have seen the Don Valley Parkway flood a couple times in a row. Well, I don't think it's in a row, but it has flooded previously. And then I will go to the next item. So the next item is from the National Observer. It says feds accused of walking back regulations on forever chemicals. Um, and this was posted by John Woodside. It's saying that like environmentalists are upset about a government decision. They're saying instead of taking a precautionary approach, they're allowing the industry to slowly roll out regulations. This article, in the article, Cassie Balko, the senior manager for toxics with advocacy group Environmental Defense, was talking in this. There was a quote: "The burden is always placed on us to prove these substances are harmful." The government says that they're trying to avoid having its regulations of pole and polyfluoroalkyl substances, commonly called PFAS, stripped away by a court challenge. So this is like a conflict between. It sounds like it's a conflict between international and domestic law as well. A lot of the times, there's a requirement to have strong scientific background, strong scientific evidence prior to banning a substance. This is like related to trade regulations, trade law. But I'm not an expert on that law. But that's what it sounds like. It could be part of that. It says that makers of the chemicals have known about their potential harms for decades, but have been slow to take any action. And then there's a link to another article about that. There's a draft report on PFAS, and comments. There was an opportunity to submit comments on this, but that period has expired. But there is a opportunity to comment on the decision that the environment minister has made. So I'll show that date. It says PFAS are entering or could enter the environment at harmful levels. There was a serious concern for environmentalists and health experts who say calling out a separate study for fluoropolymers is a retreat from its proposal last year to consider the entire PFAS class as toxic under the Environmental Protection Act. Balko said, unfortunately, we don't have timeline for that proposed alternative assessment for fluoropolymers. The Canadian government can't efficiently research each chemical in a reasonable time, she says. Those are the idea of the precautionary approach is that you take action before all the evidence is available, because there isn't always evidence, um, and evidence takes years to build. um, and then there's reasoning that's provided. She says that the reason scientists urge regulators to treat PFAS as a class rather than investigating and regulating each chemical separately is to avoid playing whack-a-mole with toxics. Because sometimes like a similar toxic chemical might appeal. Oh, and I made that point. Research can take years. Um, the minister, Stephen Gilbo, said, if we want good, effective environmental policy that supports best science and withstands legal challenges in the future, we must make sure we do it right today and do it without delay. The update reflects the best available science on PFAS and was done transparently, allowing Canadians to participate in the process. Um, there was a deadline of September 11th to provide feedback on the draft report. Um, and that's in the Canadian Gazette. Um, Jennifer Beeman with the Breast Cancer Action Quebec said that PFAS regulations have already been underway for 3 years and will continue to drag on with additional rounds of consultation and delay tactics from industry lobbyists. And then precaution, and then there's a quote, precaution must drive protective regulation, not powerful lobbying interest intent on continuing to pollute while the rest of us pay the price. Yeah, so there's a lot there's a lot of things we know about PFAS chemicals. I forgot that I didn't read this report, but I do have this report that was referenced in the article. If I can get the mouse going. It's called Update Drafts of State Poll and Polyfluoroalkyl Substance. And I made some highlights. There's a wide range of uses. There's an extreme persistence. These class of chemicals accumulate, and they have led to mobility. There's evidence that there's adverse effect on the environment and human health. It's a qualitative assessment of a fate. So where it goes, sources, occurrences, potential impacts on the environment and human health to inform decision making on PFAS in Canada. Some of the sources include food packaging, cosmetics, products available to consumers, ambient air, indoor air, and dust and drinking water. This article says that it can be found in air, surface and groundwater, oceans and soil, as well as wastewater, influent and effluent, landfill leachate, and sewage sludge. And they bioaccumulate as well as magnify. and only a small number of PFAS has been monitored. There's many exposures to PFAS at a given time. This report says, and it's reasonable to expect cumulative effects. So those reasons to take action on PFAS, even if a certain group we don't have all the answers for. Um, there's some uncertainties associated with understanding characteristics of PFAS, um, from toxicological, epidemiological, and monitoring data sets. However, there is a growing evidence supporting suggesting concerns identified um, for well-studied PFAS are more broadly applicable to other PFAS. Um, so those extreme persistence. I think that's the last thing that I highlighted, and then I might go to the conclusion. If it will let me, because I'm not I'm not going to read like this entire report. Oh, I should put on my glasses too. Oh, that looks like. Oh, so a lot of it looks like it was references. So that, but still, like page 133. Okay, so key points on findings: there's high persistence, widely present. Those bioaccumulations. Um, Chemical management is difficult due to the large number of substances. Um, so they're saying a precautionary class-based approach to address PFAS is needed to protect the environment and people from anticipated adverse effects. Um, yeah. So and then News Gazette. So this is the Canada Gazette, so you can see like some of the government notices. And this is from July 13th. So I looked at public. So the Department of Environment and the Department of Health has publication of the updated draft state of pole and polyflocal substances PFAS report, subsection 77(1) of the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, 1999. So they are going to the Minister of Environment and Minister of Health proposed to recommend that class of PFAS, excluding fluoropolymers, be added to Part 2 of Schedule 1 of the Act. And then there's a noticeable comment period. And comments on the measure the minister proposed to take and scientific consideration on the basis of which the measure was proposed. Comments received on the draft state that PFAS report published in May 2023 were addressed in summary may be found on the Pole and Polyfluoroalkyl Substance PFAS webpage. So that's saying that some of the comments were already received about that, but this is specific to the decision to accept the recommendations of that report, but not about the science behind that, behind the decision. So all comments must cite the Canada Gazette Part 1 and date the publication of this notice and be addressed to the Executive Director, Substance Prioritization Assessment and Coordination Division Department of the Environment, Gatineau, Quebec, K1A0H3 by email substances@ec.gc.ca or by using the online reporting system available through Environment and Climate Change Canada's single window. And then there's like a note about confidentiality, and then there's an annex, so some additional information. And then, so I'll go on to the next one, which is similar. So keeping in line, this is referenced in the article. So this is an article by ProPublica by Sharon Leno. It's toxic gaslighting, how 3M executives convinced the scientists the forever chemicals she found in human blood were safe. And I wasn't able to highlight anything in here. Just a bit annoying, but it's talking about how PFAS was found in blood samples of people that were not working in the factory, and it wasn't expected to be present in the general public. So that is like a big part of the article. But if you can find the article, I encourage you to check it out. I might link it in the at least the main article in the comments. Let's see. News. Of course. Oh, I don't know why I just had that. Um, Maybe this is the last of the news. The feds look to limit Foremost ancient practice of saving seed. And the National Observer by Mark Fawcett Atkinson. So the federal government is wanting to restrict Foremost abilities to save seeds. So this is already controversial. Oh, wait. There I am. Yeah. The article is called "Feds Look to Limit Foremost Ancient Practice of Saving Seeds" in the National Observer. Um, this is like already um, there was like um, constitutional flags in my head. They want to restrict Foremost ability to save seeds. Um, I think that's also like uh, an invasion of violation of indigenous rights potentially. It says for some crops. Um, this happened last month. There was amendments to Canada's seed laws that would force farmers to pay seed companies royalties for decades after the original purchase of seeds, even if farmers grow that plant variety in later years with seed they produce themselves from earlier crops. So this is going to penalize farmers. So that's not good. It's going to restrict farmers' ability to save and use hybrid seeds, which combine the desirable traits of several genetically different varieties. Critics say the move will further exploit a crisis in Canadian seed diversity supply and resilient to climate change. Um, yeah, so when seeds are all basically the same, they're more susceptible to disease or invasive species. Invasive species increase as a result of climate change. Um, and a lot of the times, though, from outside of the country, so there's additional supply chain disruptions. And because of outside the country, they're not necessarily adapted to the climate that they're growing in. Oh, and it says Canada has lost 75% of agricultural biodiversity. So that's a huge issue for food sovereignty. Um, so the government is letting companies sell gene-edited crops without being labeled as such. So there's no requirements to be labeled. There was a farmer's privilege, and then this is saying for millennia, seeds were largely produced by farmers, orchids, and gardeners who would keep the seeds from the crops and plant them the following year. Farmers could sell the seeds, but they mostly couldn't patent them or retain intellectual property rights for the creations. That started to change in recent decades. They're talking about Monsanto, which is now owned by Bayer, um, and they developed seeds that could withstand higher yields, intensive fertilizer, and pesticide use. And there was pressure from the world governments. Um, there was a provision. The Canadian corn seed laws were developed in the 1990s. Have included uh, what's known as formal uh, privilege, which lets farmers save and use their own seeds. But changes would weaken that, the article says, um, and they would limit the farmer's privilege for hybrid seeds, which are more complicated to develop. So there was no reason to develop new seeds, no incentive, even if it's like um, an improved seed that resists pests. Agrochemical companies have for decades used similar agreements to push limits on the farmer's privilege and uh, other rules that protect seeds. And yeah, that's the articles that I have today. Um, I don't see anyone in the OBS chat. Let me see if I have anyone. No, I don't see anyone in the other chat. And hopefully it's sometimes doesn't always cooperate with me. Yeah, I am live. Okay, so I am live, so that's good. Um, Showing up. Um, I guess I'll go on to my face. Yeah, so I hope that you have a good rest of your day. Um, I hope to make more of these videos, looking at what's happening in the news, um, some reviewing the news, um, and yeah, and my hope is to have a video about how wetlands reduce flooding this week, as it is timely. But I'll see you on the next video.